آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميعا لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها هبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل يسخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا ونطعم من لو يشاء الله وطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين لا ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم أزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يرى الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشاها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقنون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الفاتحة.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العصام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك واستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تغنيني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائحي ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترته وكم من فادح من البلاء يقلته وكم من عثار وقيته وكم من مكروه دفعته وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم عظم بلائي وأفرت بي سوء حالي وقصرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أغلالي وحبسني عن نفعي بعد أملي وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بخيانتها ومطالي. يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيره أسأل كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي فغرني بما أهوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدودك وخالفت بعض أوامرك فلك الحجة علي في جميع ذلك ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا معترفا. لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري وفكني من شدي وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي. يا من بدا خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي هبني لابتداء كرم قدمك وسالفي بالركاب. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك وبعد ما انطوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك ولهج به لساني من ذكرك واعتقده ضميري من حبك وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيهات هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيته أو تبعد من أدنيته أو تشرد من آويته أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمته. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقة وبشكرك مانتحة وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طاعية وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنا. ما هكذا ظنوا بك ما هكذا ظنوا بك. O Allah, O the Almighty, subhanahu wa ta'ala, indeed, O Allah, indeed, we have committed sins. Indeed, we have crossed those boundaries that you had set for us. Indeed, we have disobeyed you, but O Allah, will you give the fire, the dominion, the power over the faces who have fallen down in prostration before you. O Allah, will you punish those tongues that have voiced sincerely and professed your tawheed, professed your monotheism, professed your unity, and given thanks to you in praise. O Allah, are you going to punish those hearts who have acknowledged your divinity through verification? Or are you going to punish those minds who have encompassed knowledge of you, your ma'rifah, until they have become humble? O Allah, are you going to punish those bodily members that have speeded towards the places of your worship in your obedience and in your submission? Indeed, O Allah, I do not hold such opinion of you, nor such has been reported thanks to your bounty concerning you. ما هكذا ظنوا بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا رب. يا ربي وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكثوه يسير بقاؤه قصير مدته فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا يا سيدي فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو ولما منها ضج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته؟ فلئن صيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائي وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي، صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وهبني صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجاء عفوك؟ فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآمنين، ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولا أنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين؟ يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي، فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمه؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقه؟ أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رباه؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها؟ هيهات هيهات، ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك. فباليقين أقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك لجاحديك وقضيت له وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملاها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما، أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي، فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها، أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته، وكل ذنب أذنبته، وكل قبيح أسررته، وكل جهل عملته، كتمته أو أعلنته، أخفيته أو أظهرته، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتمين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني، وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيته وبفضلك سترته، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلته أو إحسان فضلته أو بر نشرته أو رزق بسطته أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب جميعا، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقدي وفاقتي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي رب يا ربي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورا وبخدمتك موصولا، وأعمالي عندك مقبولا، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا، يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قوي على بخدمتك جوارحي، واشدد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين، وأسرع إليك في المبادرين، وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، واستمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فرد، ومن كادني فكد، واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك، وأقربهم منزلة منك، وأخصهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك، وجد لي بجودك، واعطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وأقلني عثرتي، واغفر ذلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك، وضمنت لهم الإجابة، فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني منائي، ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من عدائي، يا سريع الرضا، يا سريع الرضا، يا سريع الرضا، اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء، يا من اسمه دواء، وذكره شفاء، وطاعته غنى، ارحم من راس ماله الرجاء، وسلاحه البكاء، يا سابغ النعم، يا دافع النقم، يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام، يا عالما لا يعلم، صل على محمد وآل محمد، وافعل بما أنت أهله، وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله، وسلم تسليما كثيرا. الفاتحة. بسم الله.
والله
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, dear brothers and sisters. Asadallahu ayyamna ayyamkum inshallah jami'an. Alhamdulillah, we've gathered over here to commemorate the Wiladat, the Mubarak, the blessed Wiladat, the birthday of our 11th Imam, al-Imam al-Hassan ibn Ali al-Dhaki al-Askari alayhi afdal salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And we would like to convey our felicitations and greetings of this blessed event to the, first of all, to the Prophet and his blessed Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, and extending these felicitations to all dear brothers and sisters around the globe who have commemorated this event. May Allah accept whatever we put forward, as alhamdulillah that the recitation was done by our young brother Ilyas, and the recitation of Dua Kumail, and inshallah the talk that will be given by our respected Shaykh Saleem Bhimji today inshallah. And whatever we do, we may Allah accept all that offering on front end inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Inshallah, before brothers and sisters, before we go into the proceed with these celebrations, if I can all request you all to recite the Ayah Karima 5 times for those who are ill from the community, and all the Shias around the globe who may be ill, for their speedy and complete recovery, for those who are away from their home, for their safe return, for those who are embarking on a trip, inshallah, as we know that alhamdulillah, inshallah, our dear Shaykh Saleem Bhimji, along with their family, is blessed, inshallah, will be embarking on a journey, as I've been told by our brother Sarfaraz Jamal, the president of the Jama'at, inshallah, on the blessed ziyarah on the plains of Iraq, where they'll be visiting those notable personalities, the Amir, and those, the Sayyid al-Shuhada, and all those notable personalities in the blessed land of Iraq, for their safe journey to those blessed land and their safe return back over here, for all the safety and security of all our ulama, Shaykh Shafiq Huda, and all our Maraji Idam, for their safety and security, for the safety and security of all our Shia brothers and sisters around the world who are also living in those harsh climates, harsh environment, either it be politically, and for the maghfirat of our marhumin, and for the advent, for the hastening of the advent of al-Hujjah, and for us being all counted amongst his ashab and sa'ad. Let us recite the Ayah Karima 5 times. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibu Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Inshallah, before we have the talk by our dear Shaykh Saleem Bhimji, inshallah, with his permission, just a few poetic verses, as we know that indeed this is the birthday of that Imam who had informed the people, either be privately where he had his companions over his house and informed him about the Imam of this time, Ajjallahu Farajahu Sharif, or either be from those signs that he had given to his ashab, as we know of those, the person who had come at the funeral of the Imam with the letters of the queries that were sent out, and then how that person had recognized the Imam of our time. Indeed, we've gathered over here, inshallah, we are able to witness the advent of the Imam of our time. We are able to do his ziyarah, inshallah, and we are on his side, his supporters, his ashab. And indeed, truly, the celebrations, we will be truly celebrating when the Imam of our time will be amongst our gatherings, inshallah, as we believe that he is indeed, and we're able to see him. So a few quick verses that have been penned by Shaheed Ustad Sibte Jafar regarding this, that he says that indeed, truly, we will celebrate when the Imam of our time comes. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. जश्न हम मनाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे, हाल गम सुनाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे, जख्म दिल दिखाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे, महफिलें सजाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे, बामोदर सजाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे, जश्न हम मनाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे। शक है जिनको अल्लाह किए अदल और अदालत पर, मनसबे नुबुवत पर, सैयदा की इस्मत पर, मुर्तज़ा की अहमद से मुत्तसिल नियाबत पर, जिनको शक है बारा पर, बारहवें की गैबत पर, सब ही मार खाएंगे, सब ही मार खाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे। दावे मोहब्बत जो सुबह शाम करते हैं, उनके दुश्मनों से भी राह रस्म रखते हैं, खुम्स भी नहीं देते, गीबतें भी करते हैं, मोमिनों से भी दिल में बुग़्ज़ कीना रखते हैं। किस तरह निभाएंगे, किस तरह निभाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे। झूठ बोलने को हम मशगला समझते हैं, बात बात पे बेजा मसलहत भी रखते हैं, और मुनाफिकत को भी मसलहत ही कहते हैं। लहव लाब का सामा हम घरों में रखते हैं, किस तरह छुपाएंगे, किस तरह छुपाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे। नेमत शरीयत को बोझ ही समझते हैं, लहव लाभ ही को हम जिंदगी समझते हैं। साहिबान ज़र को बड़ा आदमी समझते हैं, तंग दस्त मोमिन को बस यूं ही समझते हैं। क्या मकाम पाएंगे, क्या मकाम पाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे। जश्न हम मनाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे। व मुहम्मद व आल मुहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु Inshallah, just a couple of announcements. Firstly, alhamdulillah, inshallah, there will be a kids class today in the library for the children from the age of 7 to 13. Inshallah, they'll be commencing. So I'll encourage my younger brothers and sisters to inshallah benefit from this class. The other announcement is regarding Salatul Jummah, that inshallah Salatul Jummah will take place over here tomorrow at 12:20 p.m. inshallah, led by Sheikh Shafiq Huda. Without any further delay, now I'd like to request our dear respected Sheikh Saleem Bhimji to address this mahfil. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. Thank you. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين لا سيما مولانا وسيدي صاحب العصر والزمان روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء وأجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف ولعنة دائمة على أعدائهم ومنكر فضائلهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. For the hastening of the return of our 12th Imam, Imam al-Hujjah, one salawat upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. My dear brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I first off repeat the congratulations as we gather this evening to mark the birth anniversary of our 11th Imam, the 11th Imam, the 11th Noor of Ali Muhammad, Imam Hassan ibn Ali al-Askari alayhim as-salatu was-salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And we ask Allah on this blessed evening where we gathered together to mark the birth, that Allah conveys our felicitations and regards to our 12th and awaited Savior, the son of our 11th Imam, and that Allah gives us all the tawfiq to be able to pay our respects to 11th Imam directly in his beautiful shrine in Samara, and more importantly that Allah gives us the opportunity to have the intercession of the 11th Imam and all of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam on the day of resurrection. For the hastening of the return of the son of our 11th Imam, Imam al-Hujjah, one salawat upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. This evening, as we do mark the birth anniversary of the 11th Imam, I wanted to also continue the discussion that we began 2 weeks ago under the theme of Fiqh Night. And as you recall, that I wanted to try and bring about a better understanding in the 3 sessions, although we missed the one last week because of another event. But I wanted to try and bring about a better understanding in our minds about the history of the creation of fiqh, of ahkam, and more specifically of marja'iyat, of the scholars that we follow during the ghaybat of our 12th Imam. But also to try and bring about an understanding in our minds of the nature of fiqh, of being a very dynamic science, something which doesn't, or is not stagnant, something which did not just stop at a certain time, but rather it is a continuous process, it is a continuous science that is always evolving, always maturing, that we're always getting new benefit from the research of our ulama. And also to try and, in these sessions and maybe tonight, try and touch upon some of the contemporary issues that we have seen a radical shift in the fatwa of the rulings from our scholars of the past, or even contemporary scholars, but over the last 10 to 15 to 20 years, their research evolving and giving us new and better understandings of how to implement their rulings in the world. Before I go to that though, I just want to mention a few points about the 11th Imam, just so we better know this Imam that we're remembering him and celebrating his birth tonight. He was born on the 10th of Rabi' al-Thani in the year 233 in the city of Medina. And he didn't live long in Medina. As you know, if you study the history of the Imams, obviously after Karbala, and more specifically once the Banu Abbas, the Abbasid dynasty, takes on the rulership of the Muslim Ummah, the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhum as-salam, they were under extreme pressure. I mean, really, we could say all of the Muslims were under extreme pressure if they did not support the Bani Abbas in their official policies, if they weren't, the scholars who frequented the courts of Bani Abbas. But the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam in specific, they had the greatest pressure put upon them. And we have talked about this in the past, because the Shias especially, and even the general Muslims, they recognized the Imams of Ahlul Bayt as being exceptional individuals. They knew that they weren't ordinary scholars. They knew that the Shias had a process of imamat. The Imams were numbered from 1 to 12. And when you look at the Bani Abbas, and especially in the latter Imams, 9, 10, 11, and obviously the 12th, because they knew that the 12th Imam would come and eradicate oppression and bring about equality on earth, and they thought, without a doubt, that their time would have been brought to an end with the birth of the 12th Imam. They tried their best. They tried their level best from the 8th, 9th Imams onwards to move them around. And that's why you see after the 6th Imam, all of the Imams after that, they're in faraway land, right? After the 6th Imam buried in Medina, the 7th Imam, 9th Imam in Kadhimiya, 8th Imam in Mashhad, thousands of kilometers away, the 10th and 11th Imam in Samara, right? And so there was this concerted effort by the Bani Abbas to control, to limit, and eventually to eradicate the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. And so the 11th Imam, at the age of 5, he's forced to leave Medina. So only 5 years old child, he's forced to leave Medina, and eventually he makes it to Samara. And Samara at that time, one of the reasons why the historians say that that was the focal point of Iraq was there was obviously the river Furat, which ran in that vicinity. So it brought cool breeze, it brought obviously the water for plantation, for animals, for livestock. But also is that Samara was basically what we call a garrison town, right? And when we call the Imam al-Askari, it's because al-Askari, this is what you would call a military. So even in Canada, we have certain cities where the Canadian Forces military bases are created, right? We have different military bases across the country. Samara was a military city. It was the garrison town where the Bani Abbas, where their military was stationed. And so because of that, because Al-Askar is a military, the army, 11th Imam and 10th Imam became known as Al-Askari'ain, the two Askaris. And so when he was brought from Medina, it was in Samara because that was the capital of the Bani Abbas. 5 years in Medina, about 13 to 15 years he's in Samara before the Imamat begins. And he has only a 7-year Imamat, very short. And if you follow the history of the 11th Imam in our previous discussions, you'll recall that we mentioned that out of that 20 to 22 years in Samara, it was pretty much under house arrest. So he did not have the luxury of frequenting outside in the markets or meeting the Shias or discussing with a lot of the companions. Whatever the 11th Imam was able to do in terms of continuing the Imamat, getting the rulings and the questions of the people answered, was all done in a clandestine, in a secretive fashion. He had to be aware of many things. He wasn't scared of his own life being in jeopardy. He knew he would eventually die. But his concern was for the Shia, that they don't get caught up with the Banu Abbas. And so the 11th Imam used a lot of secretive techniques to keep in touch with the Shia. He would use companions who would come disguised as merchants, as oil sellers. They would sell like butter and ghee and oils, and they would come to the Imam's home. And they would hide the questions that the Shias had in the vats of oil at the bottom, like in a secret compartment. Or they would hide money in the containers for the Imam. And they would go to the house pretending to sell whatever they had to sell. and they would go in and they would exchange the funds and the questions, and then the people would leave. And then these companions would then go and distribute the answers to the Shias who needed to know. The point being is that the 11th Imam was in a very precarious time. And on the religious front, even he was prevented from conveying teachings of Islam. Right? Things like as basic as tafsir, explaining Quran, talking about the hadith of Rasulullah, what the Prophet said, what the Prophet did. He was very limited in what he could do, and so he had to use other methodologies of getting the point across. And that's where I want to look at tonight in a continuation of this process of marja'iyat, of scholarship, of how this evolved from a point where the Prophet of Allah brings the Quran, we have the Sunnah of the Prophet, but then each of the 11 Imams that come, and obviously I'm not going to speak directly about the 12th Imam tonight, but the first 11 Imams, how they began to train the minds of the Shia, how they began to really create a scholarly network within the Shia community, because they knew that the 12th Imam would go into an occultation, he would go into the ghaiba, and the community would not be able to access the Imam. So what happens? Does our entire religion go on hold? Do we say that whatever fatwa, whatever rulings rather, whatever ahkam that the Prophet of Allah taught 1400 years ago, that we follow those today? Obviously that's not the way that we as Shias think, right? Because the world moves on. Society progresses, technology advances, and Islam has to be dynamic enough to look at present circumstance, draw upon the time of the Quran, the Prophet, and the Imams, and come up with a rational understanding of what is our responsibility in every era and in every location that we live. Then we begin with a verse of the Quran in which Allah actually condemns Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Let me begin with a verse where Allah actually condemns people that do taqleed. You know, this is an issue in our world, in our community today. We have people who condemn taqleed. They say, there's no need to follow a mujtahid. There's no need to follow a marja. You can do it yourself. You can figure it out yourself. There are even people in our Shia community who wear the clothing of the ulama, and they come and they say this, that you don't have to do taqleed. The Quran actually condemns taqleed in a negative way. Allah condemns taqleed in one form, but encourages it in another way. Let me show you how Allah condemns following others when it comes to religion. And this is repeated at least 3 or 4 times in the Quran. But in this instance, is Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 170. Allah says, talking about the Jewish community in particular, but it is really applicable to all of us Christians, every group out there who follow a prophet. The verse says, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ اتَّبِعُوا مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ قَالُوا بَلْ نَتَّبِعُوا مَا أَلْفَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَاءَنَا أَوَلَوْ كَانَ آبَاؤُهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ شَيْءٍ وَلَا يَهْتَدُونَ. Allah says, when these people are told that follow what God has revealed, what Allah has revealed to you, they say, rather we would follow what we found our forefathers doing. Right? We're going to do taqleed of our parents, our grandparents, our community, our culture, our society. We're going to follow them. We're not going to follow what Allah has sent. We're going to follow what our community does, our jamaat does, our institutions do, our scholars do, who are misguided scholars. Allah says, أَوَلَوْ كَانَ آبَاؤُهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ شَيْئًا. What, even if their fathers, their grandfathers, their forefathers, they had no aql, they had no intellect, they were fools, وَلَا يَهْتَدُونَ, and they weren't guided, you'd still follow them? So in this verse, Allah is condemning taqleed in a negative way. What do I mean? I mean that Islam is a religion, as we know, and I've talked about this maybe in our first session, that Islam is a religion of intellect, of thought. Allah does not want you and I to submit in aqaid, in akhlaq, in any area, or even fiqh, I would say, without a clear understanding of what we do and why we do it. And that's why, you know, when you open up the book of the marja that you follow, the very first rule that it is incumbent on every Muslim when it comes to matters of usul ad-din, of the religion, that you understand the religion on your own. You don't say, well, my madrasa teacher taught me that God is one, and so God is one. No, but you can say, my madrasa teacher taught me with proofs to understand why God is only one, and I've researched and it makes sense to me, and so I accept it. But to say, well, my parents told me that God is one, or only there's a final prophet and I believe them, the Quran condemns that form of taqleed. The Quran says you have a brain, you all have intellect. If you and I today can launch a spaceship to get to Mars and travel on the planet and take soil samples and send them back to Earth, if human mind can get to that level, then we have the capacity as human beings, potentially we have that capacity and potential to understand the basics of our religion. You know, nobody can say it's too hard. I can't understand this imamate business. 12 imams, too hard. No, you can send a man onto Mars or onto the moon. To understand imamate, yeah, it'll take a few years. You'll have to sit with a teacher. You'll have to read a book or two. But it's not impossible. And especially for the youth and even the seniors, we should never say, I can't understand it. Yeah, maybe you won't understand the philosophical arguments of the mystics and the giants of philosophy, but you can understand something of the Tawheed of Allah. You can understand some of the proofs to prove the existence of 12 Imams. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you. One more salawat upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, please. And so Islam at one level does condemn blind following. When it comes to just saying, well, culture taught me this, my family taught me that. And it wants us to use our brain and our intellect. But at the same time that Islam tells us, use your intellect, think about it, as I talked about 2 weeks ago, and I'll repeat it to conclude or build up on this discussion, that certain things we don't all have the ability to recognize or understand or to delve into. You know, if you look at our community here today, in this particular hall even tonight, we have many different people of many different backgrounds. We have people who have their own restaurants. We have people who do many different professions. We have university students. We have maybe students in high school and college. We're all experts or potentially experts in our own field. And none of us could go and get a degree in every single discipline in science out there today. You cannot become a PhD in every single discipline. It's impossible. You can specialize in maybe a few or learn a few and specialize in maybe one or two, but we can't do everything. And because we can't do everything, Islam recognizes this. And the Quran tells us, and the Hadith tell us, that if you cannot master Islamic sciences, then go to those people who have that expertise. Quran says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلِ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Now even this verse, I don't have time to go into the depth of it, but people took this verse and they tried to twist the meaning because of the context of revelation. But don't look at it in the historic revelation of how it was revealed in the Quran, but as a general universal. That when you and I don't know something, go to the experts. Right? We do this everywhere in life. My car breaks down. I won't just go to Google and find the answer. I might do it if I can fix it, if it's something small. But most times, you go to the expert. You take your car to the mechanic. You want to buy a loaf of bread, or you want to have some bread. You won't bake it at home. Most of us don't have time. We go to the bakery. We buy the bread. Nobody has chickens or cows in their backyard today. Maybe some of you do. I don't know. But if you don't, you go to the butcher and you get the meat from the butcher. And so Islam carries that forth. And it says if you can't get to the bottom of Islamic rulings, then you go to somebody who has that ability. You go to the scholars who have devoted 30, 40, 50, 60 years, 80 years to Islamic studies, and you ask them, what is the response? What is my responsibility on a particular issue? And this is what we have as what we call taqleed, that we put the burden of actions, of figuring out our actions on somebody else. This is really all that taqleed is. Taqleed is basically, as I say, that it is using the proofs that we have, the Quran especially, and the Hadith, by the experts, to answer the questions of life. Right? You say, well, I can read the Quran. Sure, we can all read the Quran. I can read the Hadith. You can pick up a book of Hadith and read it. But there are multiple sciences involved in understanding the Quran. There are multiple sciences, which obviously I don't have time to go into tonight. But there are multiple disciplines required to be able to understand even one verse of the Quran. You have to know Arabic, first of all. And not just speaking Arabic, but you have to know the grammar. You have to know the rules. You have to know the verses, where they were revealed. What was the situation? What was the history of revelation? There are multiple sciences to study before a mujtahid can come and say, here is my fatwa, here is my ruling. They don't just offer a ruling by opening the Quran and reading a verse and saying, haram, halal. It's a very time-consuming process that can take 20, 30, maybe 40 years. Yes, some scholars have done it in 5, 6 years. We have giants like Shahid Baqir al-Sadr, mujtahid when he's in his early teens, not even maybe baligh at that point. But those are exceptions to the rule. The majority of ulama that we have, the maraja that you and I follow, they've been studying for well over 50 or 60 years to get to the level where today you can ask them a question and they can come and say that that is allowed or that is haram. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And so this becomes a huge mammoth discussion. Again, there's a lot of points. I'm just going to try and put everything together tonight as much as possible. But to realize that the position of marja'iyat, of the scholars that we follow, that it is something that we have unique within our tradition. And I say that because when you look at Islam and the various groups out there today, and maybe even other religions, if they claim to be a universal religion for all time, for all places, for all eras, then there have to be answers for all times. Not just answers that you pull out of the air, that you do a random search on internet and you find an answer. No, an answer that is grounded in the source literature. Right? And that's what ijtihad is all about. Ijtihad, even this word, if you look at it, it comes from the root of juhad, of struggle. So you have the word jihad, which is a struggle, maybe a physical struggle. But then you have something called ijtihad, which comes from that same root word, but it means an intellectual struggle. It means to exert your intellect, to go to the sources of the religion, and to get the answers that people need to the questions of life. Something as simple as the prayers, the salat that we perform, the namaz. A 2-rakat prayer which can take you and I maybe 2 minutes to perform, it's not in the Quran. Right? Nowhere in the Quran from Surah Fatiha to Surah An-Nas does Allah explain how to pray Fajr. You want to know how to pray Dhuhr? It's not in the Quran. Asr is not in the Quran. Maghrib is not in the Quran. Isha is not in the Quran. Salatul Jummah that we have every week, that is such a priority in some Muslim communities that they go to all extremes to have Jummah, it's not in the Quran. Yeah, the surah is there, Suratul Jummah, but there's no methodology. The 2 khutbahs, the Imam will sit for a few moments. If you come to the khutbah, he'll hold a stick, he'll stand up, he'll say some words in Arabic, some words in English. We'll pray a 2-rakat prayer in a certain way. None of this is in the Quran. Ironically, prayers that we do on a regular basis, the daily prayers, Jummah prayers, they're not in the Quran. But The prayer that's done at the time of war, the salat which is done, salatul khawf, at the time of a battle, like happened on the day of Ashura, that's mentioned in the Quran in detail how to perform that prayer. And I guarantee you probably none of us in this room will ever have to perform that salat ever in our lives. But it's mentioned in the Quran step by step. But every other prayer that you and I do, Fajr, but it's not in the Quran. And so the scholars, the mujtahideen, how do they determine? How do you pray? You look at the Quran, there's no step-by-step procedure. Allah could have taken one page out of the Quran. It's only a 650-page book. He could have added one more page. There's no issue of print or paper supply. And he could have put a page, here's how you pray Salatul Fajr step by step. But Allah didn't do it. And there are a lot of reasons why maybe He didn't do that. And that's where I say that our scholars then go into the hadith. That how did the Prophet pray? Because that's the key. And that's why the Prophet would say, Sallu kama ra'aytumunni usalli. Pray how you see me pray. And now the scholars have to look and see, how did the Prophet pray? He lived for 23 years as a prophet. There have to be thousands of people who saw Rasulullah praying the salat. So how did he pray? They have to get all of those hadith together. Look at the people who spoke about it, right? The whole chain of narrators. Who were the companions that narrated how the Prophet prayed? Did they live at the time? Are they trustworthy? Are they liars? There's an entire science behind that, right? And then once they get to that level, then they have to look, are there contradictions in the hadith? Are there, other issues that were happening? And once they do all of that, then they can come and say with their own certainty that out of the best ability, the ijtihad that they've done, the struggles that they have put in, that they feel that this is how the Prophet prayed. And then they come and give us a book and say, here, this is how the Prophet prayed, based on our research, based on my research as a top scholar. And then we take that and we pray. This is, in a nutshell, a very overly simplified process of how the scholars get to where we are today, where we get a book, this Islamic laws book, and it's a 600-page book of rulings of what to do and what not to do. It's this process of ijtihad, of going through every single section, taharat, the purities, impurities, fasting, praying, hajj, zakat, all of these rules. And they go one by one in the Quran, in the hadith, to try and understand what is the responsibility for a believer to perform all of the actions that Allah expects for a believer to do. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And this was a process that obviously the time of the Prophet did not necessarily have to be there. Because think about it, you're living in Medina, let's say, the Prophet is your next door neighbor. You have a problem in life, you'd go to the house of the Prophet and say, I have a problem, what do I do? Right? It was simple back then, and lives were very simple. They didn't have all the complexities that you and I have. But we have a blessing that we have the first 11 Imams that lived amongst the people. Okay, again, as I said in the beginning, some of the Imams were under pressure. They couldn't openly speak. They couldn't openly communicate. They couldn't openly teach the religion. But there were other ways they got the messages out. The point is that we had, from the time of Rasulullah's death until the time of the death of the 11th Imam in the year 260, we had about 247 years of the Imams living, where they were able to take from the hadith of the Prophet. They were able to explain to their companions challenges that would come up in life. Because again, you keep in mind, at the time of the Prophet, Muslims in Medina. But now the empire spreads. Now you're living with non-Muslims. You're dealing with Christians, with Jews, with atheists, maybe with Hindus. How do you deal with a society that is pluralistic? And fortunately, our Imams, they lived in a lot of those circumstances. And so they were able to convey a lot of that to us. But then we come to today, in our time, and we live at a time which is probably unparalleled in human history. We go through challenges that were not there at the time of the Prophet or the Imams. Right? An example that we see in Canada, when they legislated the decriminalization of marijuana just about 2 months ago. Now, there's no verse of the Quran that says smoking weed is haram. There's no hadith of the Prophet or Imams that condemned it. But our Maraja says it's haram to smoke it. So how do you come up with a ruling when there is no precedence in history? Or for example, something that may be applicable or is applicable to all of us, eating meat. Right? There are certain companies who perform the slaughter in Canada that up until a month ago were haram for you and I to eat. We've seen the store, the Zabiha Halal brand, and for the longest time, all of us said, no, that's not allowed. It's labeled as Zabiha Halal, but their process has not been verified by our ulama. So although it's a beautiful green package in Arabic and nice Zabiha written, we didn't eat it, right? But why? Because we weren't certain of the methodology of slaughter. But and then that's why I say that ijtihad becomes a blessing, because it allows us to look at our situation today and figure out what was at the time of the Prophet Imams and base the fundamentals, the principles on the issue of the day. And that's where I want to get into this differentiation between the ruling and the application of the rule. And in fiqh, we see that these are two unique aspects. The ruling is one thing, and how you apply the rule is something different. Right? It's like anything, honestly. You might go to a doctor for a particular sickness, and he might give you a prescription, and and there may be multiple ways, for example, to take that medication, or there may be multiple medications that you can take to solve the same problem. In Islam, we have the ruling. So as an example, if we look at the halal food business, we have a ruling that says that in order for meat to be permissible for you and I to eat, the slaughtering has to follow certain procedures. So for example, it has to be a Muslim who slaughters the animal. It has to be a knife or a sharp instrument, and there are certain specifics even there. The animal should be facing or must face Qibla, the direction of Mecca. There are other and multiple other conditions that are there. Those are the rules. But now comes the application of that rule. How do you apply that in our time? And this is where the challenge became with, for example, this issue with a particular meat company. Because they met some of the conditions. They had Muslims who were present at the slaughtering. For example, they were saying the phrase Bismillah, which is a requirement. Bismillah, or any dhikr of Allah, to thank Allah. Let's say they're facing Qibla. The machines were created such that it faced Qibla. But then there was an issue that it wasn't a human doing the slaughtering. It was a blade, a machine, which controlled, and it was a Muslim just standing there saying the dua and watching the animals being slaughtered. And this is at one point where the challenge came in. And this is where, not even for today, but I would say 25 or 30 years ago, this question was given to the Maraja. Because, again, if you live at the time of the Prophet, you're 100 Muslims, you can slaughter maybe 100 chickens easily. But now we are over, maybe 1 million Muslims in Canada, right? 6 million Muslims in America. Some Muslim countries have 30, 40, 50, 60, 200 million Muslims in Pakistan, for example. How do you provide enough slaughtered meat to feed an entire community of tens of millions? And so the methodology was there, the ruling was there, that these are the rules that have to be followed. You look at now the application, the process, and the scholars have to say, well, does this process match with what the religion would want us to do? And that's why we see, for example, in the ruling of this slaughtering, a few changes were made to the process. I don't want to go into all of the logistics of it right now. We can talk about it later offline. But a few changes were made to the factory in and of itself. The physical factory changes were made. Processes were changed. And once those 2 or 3 very simplistic processes, I can say, were altered, that meat from that company became halal for us to eat. So literally overnight, a switch happened in the factory, and overnight the fatwa changed from haram to halal. Nobody is saying that we've changed the fatwas and now haram is being made halal. No, it was a process change. And with a change in the process came a change in the ruling on that issue. And this is the beauty of ijtihad, brothers and sisters, that Islam can look at the current situation that we're in, and it can base the ruling of what we have to do on principles laid down. Don't think that the Maraja are making up fatwa, that they're making up rulings to make it easier for you and I. Because some people say that, can't I get a ruling from the Marja to make life easier for me in America or Canada? Why can't I just tell him I need a fatwa for this and he'll give it? Well, him, the Marja, the Mujtahid, male or female, we have female Mujtahidas as well. They don't give fatwa because you want them to give a fatwa. They don't give a ruling because you give them extra khums money. They don't give a fatwa because you're their buddy or you're their representative back home in Canada or America or wherever you're at. They have a responsibility to Allah to do what is right. They have a responsibility to the Imam of the time, Imam al-Hujjah, Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. They have a responsibility to the Imam to do what is right. And so they are given the circumstances. For example, the issue of interest. The Quran says in the Quran clearly that if you do not desist in taking and giving interest, Allah says, be prepared for war against Allah and the Messenger of Allah. فَأْذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Taking and giving interest, riba, is equivalent to waging war, jihad, against Allah and the Prophet. But today we are allowed, according to the Maraja, we take mortgages, we pay them, we take loans for necessities, we pay it. Are we contradicting the Quran? Of course not. We have to ask the scholars for a clarification of how they came to that understanding, but we don't believe that they were just given a ruling. No, they looked at the situation, they looked at the context of the ayat, of the hadith, of the situation, and they come up with an understanding. And so to wrap this up and to conclude for tonight, is that when our ulama, when we follow them, we don't follow them blindly. That's key number one. When I say I follow, let's say Ayatollah Sistani, I don't follow him blindly, just pick a name out of a hat and I say, okay, I'm going to follow the first one that I get the name of. No, I have to choose that scholar based on what other people know who know. I have to ask them who is the most competent in my era to be able to fulfill and give me answers to my legal questions. That's one of the important things that we have to know. When I do taqleed, I do it with knowledge, not blindly. Oh, Mr. Ayatollah X died, I'll follow the next one in line. No, it's not that simple. It's not like, in elections where a prime minister dies and the next person in line takes over, the deputy prime minister takes over until the new elections. We don't have that. And we're not like the Catholic Church where the Pope dies or he gives up his position, as happened a few years ago. And they have a secret convention. And it's a secret meeting that all the clergy of the Catholic Church have to decide who the next Pope is. We don't do that. Right? We have an open system. Right? And again, it's a lengthy discussion. I won't go into it tonight. But it's done with knowledge, with understanding. We choose the mujtahid. And we follow him in those rulings. And we don't just say, I'm blindly following him. No, I say that this is a man who studied 40, 50, 60 years. He knows the Quran. He knows the hadith. He's proven his ability to come with rules. And so I follow him because I trust in his wisdom and his judgment. Let me conclude tonight with a hadith from our 11th Imam, the Imam whom we are marking his birth tonight, where he gives us some of the qualities that are needed for such a mujtahid, such a scholar to follow. And keep in mind that these qualities, as the Imam himself will say, that you won't find these qualities in all of the ulama. Right? Unfortunately, as a community, as previous communities, the Ahlul Kitab, the Jewish people, the Christians, the Quran shows us that they took their ulama and lifted them up to a level of being at the level of God. Right? As Allah says that they took their ahbar and the ruhban arbaban min dunillah. They took their ulama to be like gods. They worshipped them. Whatever they did, they followed. Even if these scholars were taking them to hell, they would follow them. And so we have to realize that we are not like that. Our ulama have to be held to the highest levels of, I don't want to say spying on them, but they have to be held to the highest levels of critique. Right? We don't just follow any scholar because he comes and dresses and speaks and he sits on the minbar and he talks and he wows us and we follow him. No, we don't do that. Right? Unless he's a qualified mujtahid with proof in writing from his teachers, then we say, okay, I'll take your advice. But just for us to say, well, that guy, he speaks nice. He can use verbal acrobatics. He can talk beautifully. He can quote hadith. He can quote ayat. I'll follow him. No, we don't follow that kind of methodology. And the Imams are clear to show us that don't fall into the trap of the previous generations that have been reprimanded by Allah in the Quran. And so the 11th Imam rather says, when he was asked, well, what is the difference between the ulama of the Jews and the Christians and the Muslim ulama? You're telling us to follow them, but then you're telling us Allah reprimanded the Christians and Jewish scholars. The 11th Imam says, فَأَمَّا مَنْ كَانَ مِنَ الْفُقَهَا. Therefore, as for those fuqaha that you should follow, he says the qualities they should have, سَائِنًا لِنَفْسِهِ. They safeguard their soul. Right? They don't go towards sin. They don't go towards love of the dunya, hubb dunya. They don't go towards the haram. حَافِظًا لِدِينِهِ. They safeguard their religion. Right? They're very precautionary in what they do, in their faith. مُخَالِفًا عَلَى هَوَى. They go against their desires. Right? Our passions, your and my passions, might tell us to do something haram, and we might follow it. Because we're normal Muslims, we're not scholars at that level. But the 11th Imam says that they should be people who go opposed to what their desires might tell them to do. Imagine a marja today who controls not thousands or millions, but billions of dollars of assets in his bank accounts. Or in front of him, cash. Millions of dollars in cash. For maybe one of us, we could slip a couple $100 out and put it in our pocket and nobody would know. But that's our hawa, that's our desires, our passions. But the marja, mukhalifan ala hawa, he has to go against those desires. Money is there, he doesn't take it. Power is there, people come and kiss his hand. You've been to Najaf, you've been to Iran to meet the Maharaja, we kiss their hand. But if they let that get to them, power, people are coming kissing my hand and touching my feet, I'm a somebody. Right? They keep away from all of that. They keep away from that pomp and glory. They don't like it. We go and kiss them out of respect, but they don't expect it from us, but we do it out of love for who they are. Mukhalifan ala hawa. Muti'an li amri mawla. They follow the commands of their mawla, of Allah. So they are submissive to Allah first and foremost. They don't tell you and I to do something, and then they don't do it. Right? They follow what they are teaching to us. فَلِلْأَوَامِ أَن يُقَلِّدُوا, the Imam says. Then the awam, the common people, they should, as he says, أَن يُقَلِّدُوا, do taqleed, follow them. Take their research and apply it to their lives. And then the 11th Imam says, وَذَلِكَ, all of these conditions, لَا يَكُونُ إِلَّا بَعْدَ فُقَهَاءِ الشِّيَعِ لَا جَمِيعَهُمْ. He says, these conditions, you will not find them in all of the fuqaha. Only some of them. بعد فقهاء لا جميعهم. So you may have 50, 60, 100 faqirs, mujtahids today. Maybe more than that, I would say, in our community. But not all of them have these qualities. They may be at that level of knowledge. Ilm, they have the knowledge of istinbat, of istikhraj, of ijtihad, of developing the rules, of finding the rules. But maybe they have the power of desire taking them over still. Maybe they're not as punctual in their actions of worship. That's between them and Allah. But as the 11th Imam says, that when you find a scholar that has all of these qualities, then you follow that individual. You go and you say, I trust you, you're a man of God, you've done your self-purification, you've gotten to a level of knowledge where you tell me how to pray, I'm going to follow you. I don't have time to go to 1,000 hadith and find how to pray. I don't have time to go and find how to slaughter an animal. I don't have time to learn every rule of the Hajj, to go to Hajj and follow and figure all the rules out. I'm going to open your book, and in 100 pages you will teach me everything I need to know. I'm going to take it and I'm going to follow it. And if on the day of judgment I come to Allah and Allah says you did an act of worship based on that mujtahid while he was alive, why did you follow him? You and I should stand in front of Allah and say, Allah, you told us that I should follow somebody who knows more than I do. I didn't have time. I was busy becoming an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, a physicist, a kebab maker, whatever I was doing. I needed that. My community needed it. We needed to have kebabs. We needed to have, filled tummies. And so I let the mujtahid do the knowledge, and I fed the community. There's nothing wrong in that. But on the day of judgment, you and I can stand in front of Allah and say, Ya Allah, you told us if we don't know to go to those who have knowledge. I went to my mujtahid because he has the knowledge. Now you ask him why he passed that fatwa. And you know what? On the day of judgment, Allah will give you and I a green pass, a green card through, a green light. Allah will say, you followed the rules, you followed the rulings of the mujtahid, you get to go. I'm going to stop him and I'm going to ask him why he did what he did. But as long as we follow a recognized mujtahid, a marja who is an authority, who has the credentials and the criteria, we are off the hook. We're following him based on knowledge that he has done the research. We can't do it, and we're going to follow him, and Allah will hopefully accept that from us, as the 11th Imam has instructed us, and as his son, the 12th Imam, also guided us during the Ghaybat al-Sughra to go to the ulama, to the scholars, and get our answers from them. I conclude and I ask Allah on this blessed evening, as we mark the birth of our 9th Imam, Imam al-Askari alayhi salam, that Allah accept this act of worship from us tonight. We ask Allah to give us the ability to be able to make our way to the grave of our 11th Imam and to pay our respects to the Imam directly. And we ask Allah most importantly that He gives us the ability to have the intercession of Ali Muhammad alayhi salam on the day of judgment. As Sayyid Taha mentioned, that my family and I will be leaving tomorrow morning to go towards Iraq. Inshallah on Saturday night at about the same time we'll be in Najaf. We'll be definitely remember all of you in our du'as under the golden dome of our Amir. And we'll have a few days there before we go to Karbala for a few days and nights. And then obviously Kadamain to the home of our 7th and 9th Imam. And Samara to actually visit our 11th Imam directly inshallah next week. And I'll convey all of your salams to our Imams. I ask you to forgive me and my family if we've done anything or said anything to hurt or offend you. If we owe you anything that we've borrowed or taken from you, please come to us after the program tonight and we will make sure that we've covered all of our debts. And we ask you to pray for us and the entire group that we're going with and all of the Zawar who are going from Canada and around the world to the holy shrines of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. We ask Allah as we conclude to hasten the return of Imam al-Hujjah, and that all of us in this room together tonight can be present to witness the return of our 12th Imam, Imam al-Hujjah, Ajalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. Let us conclude by reciting a Surah al-Fatiha, but before that one loud salawat upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen, ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik yawmiddin, iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta 'alayhim ghayril maghdubi 'alayhim waladdallin. Sadaqallahu al-'aliyyul 'azim.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Inshallah, brothers and sisters, we'll be concluding this beautiful gathering with the recitation of Ziyarat al-Waritha, paying our respects to Sayyid al-Shuhada, alayhi salatu wassalam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Do you want a book or is it?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث نوح نبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام ولي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونحيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلاتك ولعن الله أمة ظلماتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلمسك من مدلهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. زيارة حضرت علي أكبر عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها الشهيد وابن الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلاتك ولعن الله أمة ظلماتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. زيارة شهداء كربلاء. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباءه. السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله ووداءه. السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي الولي الزكي الناصح. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله. بأبي أنتم وأمي طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما. فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. زيارة حضرة عباس عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل العباس ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن أول القوم إسلاما وأقدمهم إيمانا وأقومهم بدين الله وأحوطهم على الإسلام. أشهد لقد نصحت لله ولرسوله ولأخيك فنعم الأخ المواسي. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة استحلت منك المحارم وانتحكت حرمة الإسلام. فنعم الصامر المجاهد المحامي الناصر والأخ الدافع والأخيه المجيب إلى طاعة ربه الراغب فيما زهد فيه غيره من الثواب الجزيل والثناء الجميل. وألحقك الله بدرجة آبائك في جنات النعيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا علي زين العابدين. السلام عليك يا محمد الباقر. السلام عليك يا جعفر الصادق. السلام عليك يا موسى الكاظم. السلام عليك يا علي الرضا. السلام عليك يا محمد التقي. السلام عليك يا علي النقي. السلام عليك يا حسن العسكري ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب نسري والزمان. الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان. السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسحر الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته.